You are watching Travel World Online.
National Tourism Strategy Draft on MICE, goals looking promising. Thailand further relaxes COVID-19 measures from the 21st of June 2021. Fully vaccinated travelers can travel to Dubai. International Yoga Day was celebrated as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav at Red Fort. FHRAI asked government to be fair and allow restaurants in Mumbai as per Level 1 unlock order. Consumer interest and rights need to be at the heart of the business model for the industry, Capper India.
Namaskar. My name is Shweta Aryavarma, and now the news in detail. HRAI has appealed to the government to be fair and to allow restaurants to operate as per permissible guidelines listed in the Level 1 unlock order. In cities falling under Level 2, including Thane, Navi Mumbai, and Pune, restaurants and bars are operating till 11 p.m., even on weekends, but only Mumbai remains an exception. Mumbai is in Level 1 and it is extremely unfair to restaurants in the city not to be allowed to operate as per the permitted relaxations. The cure is turning out to be worse than the disease, says Mr. Singh, Vice President FHRAI. Roll Thai government relaxed norms from 21st June. According to new norms, dine-in services can resume normal hours with no alcoholic beverage while dining in orange zones. Authorities also allowed gathering up to 150 people in orange zone while 200 people in yellow zones with dine-in service in normal hours and normal operations. Shopping malls, department stores and community malls in orange and yellow zones can resume normally. According to the Tourism Ministry draft on National Strategy for MICE, the government's aim in next 5 years is to enhance India's ICA ranking to top 20 by gaining MICE business to 2% from the current share of approximately 1%. The ministry wants to encourage the state governments to set up 6 city-level MICE promotion bureaus at major MICE destinations of Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Kolkata, and Goa in next 2 years and 20 major cities in next 5 years. Others with residence visa and those have taken 2 doses of UAE-approved vaccines, which includes Pfizer, Sinopharm's BioNTech, Sputnik V, and Oxford's AstraZeneca can travel to Dubai. Welcome, Mr. Gopinath. Sir, you started your travel and tourism journey 40 years ago. How did you enter the industry and how was it like then?
Actually, Shweta, it's a very interesting question. I was working in an advertising space selling company in Kolkata, and I had gone to meet a travel agent who was our client. He's a very famous personality, Mr. Dinesh Trivedi, ex-Trinamool Congress MP, now of course independent politician. Dinesh liked me a lot, and he was looking for a manager for their Bhubaneswar office. And imagine me without any experience in travel. I was only doing space selling and advertising. So here I am. I land up in Kolkata airport. He hands over a ticket and says, "We are going to Bhubaneswar." And I said, "For what?" He says, "You are taking over the branch head of our travel wings in Bhubaneswar." I said, "Dinesh, are you kidding me? I don't know the ABC of travel." And ABC in those days meant those thick blue and red books, which were the timetables of airlines. And he said, "Gopi, you will not only learn the ABCs, mark my words, you will become one of the masters in India in the travel and tourism trade, and you will go places." That is how I entered the travel and tourism industry. It was very different then. I can give you a lot of anecdotes. I was in Bhubaneswar and we had this VVIP passenger, and he had to reach Delhi the next morning urgently. So I go to Indian Airlines in Bhubaneswar. People from Indian Airlines will be shocked when I tell this. So I said, "Mr. Basu, boss, ये सीट तो लेना ही लेना है मुझे." You know what he did? because in those days the manifests were all in pencil. He rubbed off the last name, put my passenger's name, and he flew. And when this fellow landed, he said, "You're overbooked." So, like that, many experiences, including almost getting beaten up in a tribal village in Koraput. Fantastic experience, I must tell you.
Oh my
Spending a whole
God.
night on the Christmas Eve on a ship in Paradip port with the captain, celebrating with rum cake. Those days were unbelievable, and I was all of 21, 22. Absolutely fresh, young, footloose, fancy free, and very different. Completely very different. You cannot imagine. It's like chalk and cheese today.
Can you take us through the major landmarks and achievements in your remarkable journey?
Actually, there are quite a few, and in my memoirs, which is getting published next year, I'll cover all of them. However, just a very few brief things. One is, of course, joining Trade Wings from Travel Wings, a sister concern, and handling the Indian cricket team, the BCCI. So we had people like Mohindra Manad and Ravi Shastri sitting in front of me for tickets. Kapil Dev calling me to Sundarnagar for handing over his ticket. Me traveling to Kanpur on the eve of the last test where Azharuddin made 3 centuries in a row, and getting their Australian visa form signed. Mr. Kapil Dev obviously did not come to my room to sign, and Mr. Gavaskar said, "Please send Gopinath to my room." Everybody else came and signed, and I built a fantastic relationship. I'm still in touch with Jimmy and Ravi. In fact, Ravi and I went to a sports tourism partner. Ravi is Ravi Shastri, by the way, our coach. Uh, you know, we went into a sports tourism company partnership, which had to be broken because he became a coach. So I had to go back to my mice and leisure journey. Then I joined trade Thomas Cook for a 11-month period, and before American Express headhunted me. And 87 for 12 years, I had the most glorious journey. And I must tell you that even today, if you look at the human resources principles and their policies, you cannot beat American Express TRS. When I had an accident, uh, the country head sent me flowers. Why should he send me flowers? He's sitting right on top, and I'm a small fry travel counselor. They waived almost 70,000 rupees excess medical bill for my entire, mediclaim. I won 3 regional great performer awards for outstanding customer service, and one of them led me to be part of a 7-member team which went to New York for the Worldwide Great Performer Award, which is a 3-day trip with $4,000 in travelers. Imagine $4,000 then. It bought me my first Maruti 800. And then, of course, Cox and Kings happened. I became the chief operating officer based out of Chennai. Fabulous growth. I grew that company from 50 crores to about 200 crores before I left in 2001. Then I was country head and senior VP for Corny. And I started, ran the CIBT visa division. It's not the VFS, it's a CIBT, which is like Udan or whatever. But I went to the US for a 6-week training. Then, of course, I came back to Bangalore, joined my friend Shravan as the CEO of Travel Tours. And in 2010, I decided that I cannot work for anybody else. And I became an entrepreneur, doing consulting, doing headhunting for travel, and also mice and leisure. So for the last 11 years, I've been doing this, but you can wipe out the last 18 months from that because, as all of you know, it's been a complete wipeout. So I decided last month that I will get back to the very lucrative headhunting opportunity of CXO hiring, placement of senior people, and we're just signing up the first client next week. So that's my journey in brief.
Can you
Now,
do a quick comparison on then and now? How have you seen our industry evolve and change?
you can actually say I've seen it evolve from right from the infancy of manual, everything manual, ticketing manual, calls manual. But customer service is an outstanding. Today, if you call up a travel counselor sitting in front of that dumb computer, she or he will only tell you what is in front of her. She cannot think outside the box. Whereas in our days, I'm talking about the 80s, we could bring down fares by using what are called fictitious points. Have you heard of fictitious points? Have you heard
Yeah,
of
I
it?
have heard of it at this point. Yeah.
So we had two very famous fictitious points. One is if it is an eastbound journey, Bandar Seri Begawan in Brunei, and the other was my favorite city in Croatia called Split, from where my Goran Ivanisevic comes from. So we used to use these two fictitious points to reduce fares as much as 30-40%. You ask any of them to do any calculation which will bring down the fare, he will say, sir, bye-bye, I cannot do it. So that's one change. Second change is technology has overtaken us. If you don't cope up with it now, you are in for big trouble. So even at this age, I'm still learning nuances in new technology only for working purpose, not for research and all that. And I realized that moving forward, you will see the likes of artificial intelligence and data sciences gaining in importance. But let me tell you, what is the significant change that is going to happen? The way travel and tourism is run is going to be very different from what it was 2 years ago.
Your Excellency, the Mayor of Izmir Metropolitan Municipality, Mr. Tung Sawyer, distinguished dignitaries, speakers, delegates, my friends from the travel and tourism industry, ladies and gentlemen, I am truly delighted to join the World Pandemic Conference organized by the city of Izmir, which also has a section that focuses on travel and tourism. I must compliment the organizers because it's a great cause. I represent UFTA. Please allow me to briefly refer to UFTA, United Federation of Travel Agents Association. We are a 55-year-old global federation of national associations and are represented in over 70 countries. We are truly delighted that our Golden Jubilee World Congress was hosted in your most beautiful country, Turkey, in the magnificent city of Istanbul. TURSAB is an important and favorite national association member of UFTA. TURSAB, with over 12,000 members, is UFTA's largest member association. It is outstandingly led by the most dynamic president, Mr. Firuz Baglikaya, who's a very popular speaker in UFTA as well. UFTA's role in tourism is very vast and is ably supported by TURSAB. Mr. Setin Gursun, who had served as the Secretary General of TURSAB, is now the Vice President of Tourism in UFTA. UFTA brings heartiest compliments to the Mayor of Izmir, Your Excellency, Mr. Tung Sawyer, for this most outstanding event, which is very rich in content. Your Excellency, we at UFTA are highly appreciative of your leadership to the tourism sector for a very long time. And we are very confident that you will enhance the potential of visitors to Turkey in general and Izmir in particular. I must mention that I was fascinated to read about Izmir, a destination that travelers, in my opinion, must include always in their itinerary. It is very rich in amazing history, unique culture, fantastic gastronomy, incredible sceneries, so much of beauty and wonder, and indeed a paradise to experience. Your Excellency at UFTA, we shall certainly try and promote Izmir and look forward to an opportunity to partner with you and the city of Izmir to promote this most happening destination. Congratulations to you, Your Excellency, and the city of Izmir, that you have been chosen as the first Sita Slow or Slow City Metropole. People living here and visitors are gifted with clean, green, and most friendly environment. Wow, what a fantastic place. Dear friends, my presentation today will focus on the impact of the pandemic briefly, tourism beyond the new normal, tourism expectations, and the destination preferences for tourists to choose from. I shall be very quick and short. The impact. According to WTTC, prior to the pandemic, 1 in 4 of all new jobs in this world was in travel and tourism industry. We actually accounted for 10.6% of all the jobs in the world. Travel and tourism also accounted for about 10.4% of global GDP, which is $9.2 trillion, and this is in 2019. What happened in 2020? Came the pandemic, and the industry suffered a huge loss, almost US $4.5 trillion in losses or in reductions from the previous records. In 2020, 62 million jobs were lost. Domestic visitor spending decreased by 45%. International spending declined by an unprecedented 69.4%. I can go on and give you more statistics, but this is adequate for us to appreciate the size and contribution of this most fascinating industry, which must be brought back to its 2019 levels very soon and then scale up to new levels. So there's a very huge responsibility on the governments, on different nations of the world, and everyone connected as stakeholders in travel and tourism industry to strive to get the industry back as soon as we can to our 2019 levels. When we talk about tourism beyond the new normal, first let us interpret what the pandemic did to our industry. It caused chaos, it caused fear, disruption, brought about uncertainty among travelers, which resulted in people staying back or not traveling as they did before. They were always worried about coping with uncertainty. While this negative impact did bring about a global crisis in many industries, travel and tourism industry took a bigger hit, either in the area of travel, tourism, hospitality, or MICE. The pandemic took away the sheen or the luster of the tourism industry. Tourism was the best form of leisure. You know, you talk about leisure, and tourism was the best form of leisure that people look forward to. If you want to try and interpret the word leisure, it represents freedom, relaxation, holiday, or vacation, joy and more. Like our basic or physiological needs, tourism became an important need for people because leisure offered them to get away and celebrate the experience. This getaway with a lot of excitement, a lot of fun, offering reunion, discovery, gastronomy for those ardent travelers. Well, life without periodic leisure is very difficult to live. Now the big question is, what next? Travel, tourism, culture and gastronomy during the pandemic has certainly taken a big hit. The world has been asking many questions. How long can this big hit last? When will the world get back closer to normalcy? When will tourism open up again? Will people travel in groups as they did before? Will they opt for longer duration travel? Somebody traveling for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, do you think it will happen again? Now we are confronted with these questions which have a lot of answers. Everyone's trying to give their own response. But in my opinion, and my colleagues in UFTA, we all believe that we need to redesign these questions. The challenge before us is how quickly can we overcome the negative impact and move forward. So the question should now be, what can we offer to support people overcome fear of travel? There's a big fear of travel. So what can we offer to support people overcome this fear? How soon can we create comfort zones for tourists? You know, you need to extend hand-holding. That will give tourists a lot of comfort. How soon can we create these comfort zones so that tourists will start moving out? What innovative approaches must be launched into to attract people to travel and get back to leisure? I think we need to start looking at a new normal followed by the next normal. And the next normal must be packed with a lot of innovative approaches. And that's our challenge. How ready are we to bring in more technology to blend with tourism? Because now tourism is not just an opportunity to travel, it's got balancing aspects. One aspect, the health and environment, and the other aspect, it's got to be driven by technology, a lot more technology than it did before. Because the tourism expectations are growing by size. Tourism, in our opinion, is expected to come back. When you talk about how soon, we would say in 2022, during 2022, we may get closer to the 2019 numbers. Maybe in 2023, we may match these numbers and start overtaking them. Unless we are impacted by another spike, the world cannot afford another spike in the pandemic. And this is a very underlying point that I wish to make. Tourism, ladies and gentlemen, now a new norm has set in. And the new norm is that people must start believing tourism will be more expensive than it was before. Of course, since transport, air travel costs, hospitality costs, F&B, cost of related services, all of them have taken a bigger load of the negative impact. Now everyone's going to try to come back to sustainability, and they will be available at a higher price. But then it needs to be offered to tourists as a package that is much safer, secure, and more carefully designed. So we need to build in a lot of value. When you're asking more money, obviously you have to add a lot of value into tourism. We see large groups. I'm giving you an example. Large groups in family and friends. Well, this is a travel that has sized down extensively today. Now, will it happen? We see large families, groups of friends, partying together, traveling together, celebrating occasions together. Now, we need those groups very badly. But then they can only happen when they are backed up with a lot of hand-holding by the destinations. The numbers today are smaller and the duration of the tour is also shortened. This is one important aspect that we must acknowledge. Somebody was ready to travel for 2-3 weeks, even a month. But today people are conscious of making the travel shorter, come back to base and then go again. What kind of destination preferences will tourists be looking at? This is an important question. Tourists are expecting destinations to offer more safety and security, particularly emergency services, easier health protocols. A lot of governments are coming up with protocols. They have to be user-friendly, easier health protocols, more facility at their command, and much better hand-holding. Technology will play an important role. There is a need for many more apps to get introduced to turn up on tourist smartphones with a 24/7 assistance. The app can be their all-time guide and keep them connected every time. So you're traveling, you will have a map which is like your all-time guide. And that map, that particular app can make your life easy. Destinations that reflect care and concern will also be preferred. Media today plays a very big role, and media will continue to play the big role in promoting destinations that are not impacted much with the pandemic. One can't opt for a destination where the cases spike often. This is an area that the local governments must be conscious about. So if you want to promote a destination, make sure the pandemic's impact is the minimal or not there at all. Having said all of this, I must mention there is an urgent need, a high priority need for the governments to work together, to team up if you want tourism to be promoted well. There must be uniform and friendly global health protocols that must encourage more tourism. If your protocol is difficult, impossible to achieve, or making it so complex that people would run away, stay at home rather than taking a getaway, then tourism is getting affected. Surely the government must take care to ensure that there's no inflow of the pandemic into their country. But then that can be done in many more ways which can appear and which are friendly to the tourists. This is one area that the world is certainly concerned about. Now, UFTA is publishing a promotion on vaccine equity. We are talking about vaccine equity. Very soon we have our General Assembly. We will be promoting resolutions, asking governments for friendly protocols to be put into practice, less of discrimination. Without this, tourism will be a challenge as an industry and as an opportunity for the discerning traveler. In conclusion, my dear friends, allow me to say that the times ahead will be a new norm to live and cope with. We have to learn to live and grow with such situations. I always keep telling myself and a lot of my friends that each one of us in our own living must prove to be superior to circumstance. So this kind of an environment certainly is challenging, but it comes with opportunities as well. This is what life is now teaching all of us. Those who can cope up and move fast will make it big. The first mover advantage is offered to the hundreds, thousands, or even millions who are ready to plunge into offering a better world for the purposes of promoting much more tourism. I am quite certain that by the end of this conference, the organizers, led by His Excellency the Mayor and supported well by Tour Sabha, they will come out with some kind of a global directive that can assist nations, countries, organizations like UFTA, work in tandem with WTO and then make it more user-friendly for tourism to succeed, and then very soon try and achieve the numbers that we had in 2019. Our goal is not just to achieve the 2019 numbers. Our goal is to get back to normalcy, go beyond these numbers, and that is where we have to start designing the next normal. All the very best. Congratulations once again, and thank you very much.
You are watching Travel World Online.